Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cassie and this is That Grim Reader. Apologies in advance if I sound a little bit rough. We're getting over the flu in this household. It's been a long week. But I'm here making a video because why not? Today's video is going to be my tips and tricks on how to get out of a reading slump. I have been feeling pretty slumpy myself the past about a month now. I haven't really had the drive to pick up a book as such. I'm blaming it on the fact that I've been focusing on this one big reading vlog project for several weeks now, and it's just, I don't know, it's not agreeing with me hugely. So, but it's coming to a close. We're almost done. The end is in sight. But anyway, just in case any of you guys have been feeling a little bit slumpy lately, I thought I would share some of my tips and tricks for getting out of that. These have helped to varying degrees in sort of previous times when I've been falling out of love with reading a little bit. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Tip number one is to try reading a novella. I personally feel accomplished if I manage to finish a book, especially if I'm feeling a little bit less inclined to be reading. Finishing that first book in a while can sort of kickstart the enjoyment for me. So obviously a novella, it's short, it's quicker to finish usually, not always. Some novellas can be harder and heavier than like full-length novels, but as a general rule, a novella is a quick, easy way to get you back on the boat a little bit. Is that even a saying? Whatever. I love a short book generally, but especially if I'm struggling, it can help a great deal. My second tip would be to try out audiobooks. Even if you're feeling like you don't really want to read, you still have to do the laundry, do the washing up, commute to work, exercise, go for walks, whatever. And if you listen to a book while you're doing all of those things that you've got to do anyway, you're killing two birds with one stone. I just saw a bird fly past and felt really bad about that little metaphor, saying, for it, whatever. So yeah, I personally listen to a lot of audiobooks just generally anyway. But yeah, if I'm struggling to find the motivation to sit down and read a book with my eyeballs, an audiobook can get me back into the rhythm of things. Also gives you a chance to focus on other hobbies that don't necessarily, they require concentration but not the same kind of thought. So if you're into like knitting or painting or crochet or anything that uses your hands, a lot of crafty things, I guess, an audiobook can be a good pairing for that. I find, I know a lot of people don't get on with them, and that's fine, you do you, but for me, I find it helpful. Tip number 3 is to just carry a book around with you. Have a book in your bag or in your car or wherever, on your bedside table. Just have a book to hand for if you're in a situation, if you end up in a situation where the need actually strikes you, that the want to read creeps up on you a little bit. You have an appointment and you're sat in a waiting room for ages and you don't feel like scrolling through your phone. You can pick up a book if you've got one with you. If you haven't, it's not even an option. Or if, you know, I've said before, on your commute to work, or if you're in the car and your car breaks down and you're waiting for the AA, might as well read a book. There's nothing better to do. Like, I don't know, it's just giving yourself the ability and the opportunity to read can help. It also could go the opposite way and might make you, oh, the book there, I'm surrounded by books, I don't want to read any of them. It could have the opposite effect, to be fair, but for me, it kind of works. Number 4, I found a really good one. I've only just started doing this in recent months. Allow yourself to soft DNF DNF did not finish, to put a book down. If it's not striking you basically immediately, if you're already feeling slumpy and you pick up a book and you're not vibing with it, put it down. It doesn't mean you won't love it next week, next month, next year. It just means it's not for you at this moment. There was a time last year, I can't remember what most of the books were, but I tried to read like 4 or 5 different books and none of them were doing anything for me in the first little bit, so I just gave up on them. I gave up on Chain Gang All Stars, Death of a Bookseller. There were a couple of others in there that I wasn't in the mood, and I ended up finding something eventually. I don't know what it was now, but that I managed to read, so it worked out. And there's obviously no limit on how quickly you can DNF a book. You could make yourself read 50 pages or 20 pages or a chapter or a page or a sentence. Like if you read the first sentence and you're like, oh, this sounds tedious, just put it down. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want is fine. They're your rules. You don't even have to follow your own rules. Do what you want. It's all good. Similarly to the novella tip. Tip number 5 would be to try a short story collection, because that kind of has the same effect as the novella, in which you finish a story. You get that little hit of dopamine. You get that, oh, I finished a story. Well done me, aren't I great? Sort of, but you get that 10 times within a book. So I don't know, it works for me. And still kind of similarly, I would strongly recommend trying to find a book that has really short chapters, because if I'm feeling like I don't really want to read, I'm the sort of person who can't put a book down partway through a chapter. It will niggle at me until I finish the chapter. So I love a book with short chapters. Knowing that I don't have to commit, oh, it's a 40-page chapter, I'm going to have to sit down for like 20 minutes, half an hour. How long does it take you to read 40 pages? 40 minutes? I don't know. But if it's these chapters are 3 pages each, it's so much more easy to just find time to read 3 pages. And it's also easier to go, oh, I'll just read one more chapter. Just one more chapter. And then you end up reading 40 pages anyway. But knowing that you don't have to, for me, again, these are all fairly subjective tips, I guess, but they could work for you. You could hate them, I don't know. Tip number 7, that's 10. Tip number 7 is to try switch up genres. If you found yourself reading the same genre a lot, it could be worth trying something new or going back to an old favourite. I found myself a little bit burnt out on reading thrillers last year, the year before, and that's when I ended up dipping more into horror, which I hadn't read for a long time, and I've been really enjoying horror, so it worked out really well for me in that it got me out of a reading slump and it helped me rediscover the love of an old genre. So that could happen to you. Or you could, just having that palate cleanser then might make you, if you read a million romance books, having that palate cleanser of a thriller or a historical book or whatever might then make you appreciate romance more when you get back to it. You might be eager to do that, or you might not. These tips are great. Next tip is to try and reread a book that you've loved, either like an all-time favourite or something you recently read and really loved and just want to give another shot. This has a couple of benefits. One, you know you love the story, you've already experienced it, it's great, you know what's going to happen. You also, if you're feeling slumpy for, I don't know, you've got something worrying you in your general life, you don't have to have that same level of focus to read a book that you've read before, because you know the gist of it at least. You're not going to be struggling to understand who everyone is or anything like that. It's easier. I don't reread often, but it's like a nice comfort thing. It's like comfort watching Friends or Gilmore Girls or whatever, or a favourite film. It's just sometimes nice to be in the world of a favourite book or film or TV show or whatever. So yeah, definitely works for books as well as other media. My next tip, I've lost count at this point, is to watch BookTube, as you are doing, obviously. I find it really inspiring, and it gets me excited to see other people talking and getting excited about books. If I see someone talking about how amazing a book is, how they couldn't put it down, it makes me want to read that book. So it's kind of infectious. So you might also find the same thing, or I guess on the other hand, it could put more pressure on you to, like, oh, these people are reading so many books and I'm not reading any. So I guess it could have that effect too, but I'd say give it a go. And obviously, if you find that it's making you feel worse, stop doing it. It's all good. I would also recommend potentially going to a bookshop or a library, just wander around, immerse yourself in the vibes of the bookish, location. Also gives you the opportunity to pick up a brand new book or library book that you are excited about in that very moment and you want to read right now, because you don't have to worry about picking out of the books you already own or anything. You can just go find something that speaks to you in that moment. That could be a good little idea. I personally also have a priority TBR little shelf, and I know a load of people have like a TBR cart thing, and I do find that easier if I don't exactly know what to pick. I'm choosing from a smaller pool than my entire 300 and odd, whatever it was, TBR shelf. So, and I do regularly change my priority TBR every maybe week or every couple of weeks. I'll have a look at it and be like, oh, actually, that doesn't appeal to me hugely anymore. Oh, I got this new book and that, I can't wait to read that. Oh, I heard someone talk about a book that I bought ages ago. I really want to read that now. Let's put that on the priority TBR. So it's just, it changes with my mood, and yeah, I find, like, in terms of like Netflix and stuff, I find it so overwhelming to choose one thing out of all of the options. So having a smaller pool works for me. I know that might not be for everyone, but again, these are just my personal tips. You could also try doing some reading sprints, either communally online. Tons of creators host reading sprints and do like fun little games and just chatting and stuff in between, which obviously great fun. Or you could just do it on your own if you don't want to be, if you're not feeling social. Just set an alarm or something for a timer for 20 minutes, half an hour, however long you feel like, and just have that. This is the time where I'm going to sit down and read. Could help, might just put pressure on you. I don't know. I think that could be work or not work for different people. I haven't actually tried doing reading sprints. This one is not endorsed by me, but it's an idea. You could give it a go. Another one that I don't personally do, but it could work for you, is to have a set time of day where you do read. You could set your alarm 15 minutes earlier in the morning and do some reading. You could go to bed 15, 20 minutes, whatever, earlier on a night and read in bed. I do generally try to read in bed a little bit, but it's not a thing that I do every day or even every other day. It varies. But for a lot of people, creating that habit can be a good thing. Reading isn't a habit to me. It's a sort of, it depends what mood. I have to be in a reading mood to want to read. Sometimes I want to play video games, sometimes I want to watch TV, sometimes I want to, I don't know, interact with actual humans. Sometimes, not often. Mood read. Just read whatever you want. Yes, you might have a book that you really should be reading for a book club, or because you want to make some certain content, or for school even. I mean, if it's for school, you probably should try, but yeah. Just taking a little break from what you have to read can reignite the enjoyment. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I've been working on this quite long vlog for, I don't know, since before Christmas, I think. and it feels like it's been going on forever. And at first I wasn't reading any other books in and amongst them, so everything was focused on that, and I just was losing the enjoyment a little bit. So I did start to slot some other books that I was more interested and excited about in with the books that I had to read, and that's helped quite a bit. Potentially making a nice area in which you have, like, as a designated reading area. I've obviously got my cozy little reading nook thing, and I try really hard since I've moved in the new house not to use it to like store laundry or anything. I try to have it as a nice space that's always available should the mood strike me to read. In the old house, this cozy chair was like in my bedroom, and it definitely just had laundry that was waiting to be put away stored on it 90% of the time. But I'm doing well. It's usually free and not cluttered. So yeah, having a designated space. It doesn't have to be solely for reading. It could be your bed or your sofa or something, but having like a space for a candle, having a nice drink, just having it cozy, good lighting, just having it meet the right vibes for what you like in your reading space, just having it ready for when the mood does strike, I find helpful. And finally, tip number whatever, the ultimate tip: take a break. Stop reading. Don't read. It doesn't matter. Do something else. Go play video games. Go watch TV. Go outside. Go see a friend. Learn to crochet. Play mini golf. I don't know. Do anything. Just, like, don't even worry about reading. Give yourself a day, a week, a month, whatever you need, just for that set time. Don't stress. Don't think, oh, I should be reading. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. If you're supposed to be making content, delay it. Talk about why you're not making content instead. Make a video about reading slumps. Whatever. If it's for a book club, just show up and admit that you only read half the book. It doesn't matter. You can still talk about it. Book clubs are just to hang out with your friends anyway. The books are, it's arbitrary. Again, school, probably should read it. Just watch a YouTube video about it. It's fine. You can coast through your class. It's all good. Don't use this argument if you get caught out though, because I don't want to be held responsible for that. But generally, usually, you don't need to read that specific book right now. You've got time to do something else, even if it's only a day. Just take the time. Just don't worry about it. The love of reading will come back at some point. So yeah, those are some number of tips and tricks for how to get out of reading slump. I hope you find some of these useful. If you have any other tips, probably better ones, please let me know. I'm always interested to know what works for people and what doesn't. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.